order at 6:01. Commissioner Lister, will you lead us in an invocation and pledge of allegiance?
I will, Madam Mayor. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for being here with us today. We thank you for protecting Madeira Beach during these times of trouble. We also understand that there's several thousand people that are still out of power that we need you to send your grace and your blessings down upon. We ask that you give this commission wisdom and guidance on the decisions that will affect the citizens of Madeira Beach today, and that your wisdom and grace continue to bless Madeira Beach. It's always in your name that we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the interim city clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Lister?
Here.
Commissioner Hodges?
Here.
Commissioner Oakley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Dalford?
Present.
Mayor Black?
Present. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Second. Any comments from the commission? Our interim city clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Dalford?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Lister?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. I will now open the floor for public comment. How nice. All right, on to new business. We have ordinance 2017-10.
Madam Mayor, prior to reading the ordinances, I was asked by Mr. Pierce if I would just, based on the last meeting, there was a no vote on the adoption of the budget. So I've just been asked to briefly go over what happens if the city fails to adopt a budget by the September 30th deadline. And very briefly, basically what would happen is it would be an impossibility for the city to spend money. So there would basically be a government shutdown. Employees wouldn't be able to get paid, services wouldn't be able to be rendered, the city would not be able to pay the debts that it owes, and basically would become a debtor. So if there is an inability to pass the budget today, that would happen. There is a possibility that the governor would intervene in the town affairs and possibly adopt the budget as it stands or adopt the previous budget. They could also the governor can pursue a judicial order which would compel the city to adopt a budget, and the possibility, though not probability, that there could be a suspension or removal of some of the commission members for failing to pass a budget. That is a very unlikely probability, but it is on the books as something that the governor has the ability to do. So with that, I will go ahead and read the ordinance for the millage rate. Ordinance 2017-10, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, establishing the millage rate for fiscal year 2018, providing and announcing the name of the taxing authority, the rolled back millage rate, the percentage increase over the rolled back millage rate, and the millage rate to be levied, providing for reading in its entirety, and providing for an effective date. Whereas Florida Statute Section 200.065 requires the adoption of the millage rate by separate vote and prior to the adoption of the budget, and whereas Florida Statute Section 200.065 requires that prior to adoption of the millage levy ordinance, the following be publicly announced: the name of the taxing authority, the rolled back millage rate, the percentage increase over the rolled back millage rate, and the millage rate to be levied. And whereas in no event may the millage rate adopted exceed the millage rate tentatively adopted, now therefore be ordained by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida. Section 1, the name of the taxing authority is the City of Madeira Beach. Section 2, the rolled back millage rate for fiscal year 2018 is 2.0435 per $1,000. Section 3, the fiscal year 2018 proposed millage rate is 7.66% higher than the rolled back rate. Section 4, the millage rate to be levied for fiscal year 2018 shall be 2.2000 per $1,000. Section 5, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its adoption.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion this commission pass ordinance 2017-10 on second reading.
A second.
Any public comment? All right, I have a motion and a second. Will City Clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Oakley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Lister,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dalford,
Yes.
Mayor Black.
Yes. All right, next we have ordinance 2017-11. Madam Attorney?
Ordinance 2017-11, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2017, and ending September 30th, 2018, providing for reading in its entirety and providing for an effective date. Whereas Florida Statute Section 166.241 requires the adoption of a budget each fiscal year, and whereas the amount available from taxation and other sources, including balances brought forward from prior years, must equal the total appropriations for expenditures and reserves, and whereas at a minimum, the adopted budget must show for each fund as required by law and sound financial practices, budgeted revenues and expenditures by organizational unit which are at least at the level of detail required for the annual financial report required under Section 218.32 subsection 1, and whereas the adopted budget must regulate expenditures of the municipality and an officer of a municipal government may not expend or contract for expenditures in any fiscal year except as pursuant to the adopted budget, and whereas the City of Madeira Beach tentative fiscal year 2018 budget is balanced, as presented at the level of detail required to file the annual financial report, and shall regulate expenditures of the city for the period beginning October 1st, 2017, and ending September 30th, 2018. Now therefore it be ordained by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, Section 1, the fiscal year 2018 budget shall be governed by the following funding sources and uses. Funding sources, governmental and proprietary funds. Governmental funds, general fund, total funding sources, $9,967,500. Local option sales tax fund, total funding sources, $430,000. Archibald Fund, total funding sources, $388,800. Building Fund, total funding sources, $458,300. Gas Tax Fund, total funding sources, $111,600. Debt Service Fund, total funding sources, $1,417,200. Proprietary funds, Sanitation Fund, total funding sources, $1,405,000. Stormwater Fund, total funding sources, $1,555,700. Marina Fund, total funding sources, $2,376,700. Total funding sources for governmental and proprietary funds total $18,110,800. Funding uses, governmental and proprietary funds, governmental funds, general fund, total funding uses, $9,967,500. Local option sales tax fund, total funding uses, $430,000. Archibald Fund, total funding uses, $388,800. Building Fund, total funding uses, $458,300. Gas Tax Fund, total funding uses, $111,600. Debt Service Fund, total funding uses, $1,417,200. Proprietary funds, Sanitation Fund, total funding uses, $1,405,000. Stormwater Fund, total funding uses, $1,555,700. Marina Fund, total funding uses, $2,376,700. Total funding uses for governmental and proprietary funds is $18,110,800. Section 2, total funding sources and uses include fund balance reclassifications which are appropriated for governance purposes but represent neither revenues nor expenditures. Section 3, total funding sources and uses include interfund transfers which are appropriated for governance purposes but represent neither revenues of the debt service fund nor expenditures of the general fund. Section 4, total funding sources and uses will be amended as of October 1st, 2017 to include encumbered balances legally reserved as of September 30th, 2017, i.e. balances not otherwise limited per Section 10.6 of the City Charter. Section 5, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its adoption.
Any questions from the board?
I had one that when I was looking through here, we're giving the $5,000 to the Madeira Beach TI Chamber. I think we need to split that up and give half of it to the Madeira Beach TI Chamber and the other half to the Tampa Bay Chamber. Because I can't see leaving one or the other of them out. They both do stuff here in the city.
We're giving the St. Pete Clearwater free rent, so we're giving them some money. It's not like we're not giving them something.
Excuse me?
We're giving them free rent for the building.
We don't know what's going to happen to the building this year. Madeira Beach, TI have come in and
We
wanted
gave
it.
them free rent
so-
last year. Let me say it that way.
Well, that was last year. We're talking about this year. So do y'all have an issue with that?
Seems reasonable.
That's what I thought. John?
I have no problem with it.
You see, it's not really changing anything in the budget. It's just moving that little bit around.
That's something we have time to do.
Okay.
It can be brought up later, into October or November, and
Well, I don't know when you actually cut the check to them. That's why I brought it up today. I didn't know, like, on October 1st, are you going to cut a check?
No.
I just didn't know when you did that.
I don't believe it's that soon.
Would it make a difference, depending on how it turns out, who ends up getting the kiosk?
Madam Mayor, that may be something that you want to consider. We've had a couple of meetings with both of those chambers, and nothing has actually been resolved. You know, I think probably my suggestion to the board would be to ask for you to give us some direction as far as possibly putting out an RFQ and see what's available to us from those chambers, and then bringing that back to the commission for a decision.
Right. Okay.
Is that going to be on the next workshop?
If you would like.
Please?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other
Madam
questions?
Mayor, I believe we need a motion on the ordinance, Ben, to talk any further, but I want to respond to that. I'll make that motion. I make a motion that this commission pass ordinance 2017-11 on second reading.
Second.
Chief, the businesses in Johns Pass have approached me to rent that space. That's why this whole thing came up. So I've had people that want that business. We can't just say you two chambers can bid it out. You're going to have to bid it out.
I agree.
Okay,
And if we put it
okay.
out for an RFQ, it'll be
Fine.
open to
I'm
the
fine. As
general
long as you
public.
open it up to everybody, I'm good with that.
Yes, sir.
Any public comment? Will interim city clerk please call it?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I don't mean to interrupt, but I did miss the last meeting, and I know my input, I probably was read, but I just want to go on record again as saying that I don't support this budget because of the emergency medical services budget. I think the fire inspector position is well above and beyond something that should be in this budget. The money could be used a lot more appropriately for, i.e., a generator for City Hall. We had a lot of issues with people that wanted things done that they couldn't get up here and even ask questions. So again, I just wanted to go on record as saying that I'm definitely against this budget. Thank you.
I'd like to say something also. I was expecting to get some kind of itemized list for the additional amount that was shown under the fire count here.
I did send that to each council member in an email.
I never received it. I
Okay.
did not receive it.
I can give you a copy now if you want to see it.
Okay.
For the record, I did receive it.
Okay, I didn't get it. Thank you.
Basically, I indicated in that document that basically the kitchen supplies was a misleading account description. And as you can see, Commissioner Hodges, the amounts that got added into that account, what basically happened is, and after the last budget meeting, I refreshed myself. I had asked, the fire department initially had put some things under capital for loose items in the new ladder truck. those items that are not tied down. So it really is not, doesn't go to the value of the truck. You can take them in and out, and they're under $5,000. So I took them out of the capital line item and I put them into that account. That's what inflated the account significantly from last year.
Okay, the thing that was a lot confusing to a lot of people was the fact when they go and they read it under the line item.
And
And
I
it shows-
apologize, the description on that line item held true until I made that correction, and put the money from capital into that line item. I should have went through and changed the description to include, this also includes, or the majority of it includes, items that are geared toward the fire ladder truck. And I should have done that.
Okay, but just the term "et cetera" after that amount was very misleading, and a lot of people question that.
I agree.
Because they didn't know what "et cetera" was and what is this covering. And that was the question I was getting. And I didn't know how to explain them, other than the fact that there was items on there that were going to be used towards the ladder truck, but they wanted to know, what are they? And I had no idea what to tell them at that time.
Right.
So I feel like the term "et cetera" should never be listed in a budget.
Okay.
Because to me, a budget, you have to know what the money is, where it's going, what it's being spent for, where it's being moved towards. Et cetera doesn't tell you anything. I feel like that's a very misleading one.
I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
I would also like to kind of add to this. I don't agree with everything in the budget, you know, as we've talked in the past, but I think we definitely need to pass this budget. As our attorney said, that, you know, the state could come in and take this over, and this is home rule. And, you know, I know Terry, he said, you know, he's been fighting home rule for 10 years, and it would just be a massive home rule, in my opinion. So I think, you know, we need to pass this and, you know, and start working together with Walt to get these things, like you said, et cetera, out of there in the future, and all these little things. I think, you know, there's little things in there that disturb me too, but I don't think it's bad enough to have the state come in and run us and tell us what to do and how to run our city. So I would just like to add that. Thank you.
You know, and if I'd like to comment one thing too, I basically had 3.5 months to put this budget together. I am proud of it. I think if I had more time, I would have, you know, spent more time with commissioners to go over things that I felt were important. And I just felt like I did not have that time in a 3.5 month period. When you're dealing with the budget, this is not a large budget, but it's very complex. And we have a lot of projects, and they're important, and it's important to understand them because they are complex. And I just wish I had just a little bit more time to go over that with council. Next year, that's going to be a priority of mine.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Pierce because, you know, you came in at a time when we were in turmoil and you started from scratch. You didn't know anything about Madeira Beach and you had to get this budget done and you did it and you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pierce, may I keep this?
Yes, that's your copy.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Interim City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Lister?
No.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dalfer?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have reports and correspondence from the City Commission. Any reports?
I just want to say thank you, Madam Mayor, for excusing my absence on the last meeting. I had some medical issues, but I'm starting to feel much better, so
I'm glad
thank
to
you.
hear that.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would like to thank the city, Darrell, especially for directing the crew during the storm.
Absolutely.
He was the most awesome part of everything that happened, and we just want to really thank you for everything you did, and your crew and all the people out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. But let me assure you that it wasn't me doing it alone. It was all of the city staff. We've got, I say at every meeting, we have some incredible workers here, you know, and it wasn't only the Public Works Department, but it was the guys at the rec center, the guys at sanitation, the guys at the fire department, everybody pulling together to make this system work for us. And I'm very proud of the job that they did and the way they handled themselves throughout this whole event. And I'm also proud of our city employees, our city, our citizens. You know, they did an outstanding job too. You know, while they were getting a little bit agitated there at the end when the power didn't come back on when it was supposed to.
Sorry.
It's understandable. It's understandable, absolutely. And we did everything we could to make it as palatable for them as possible. So my hats go off to all the city employees and to the citizens of our city for the job they did. Thank you.
They did, and the residents recognize that, because I've had a lot of phone calls and people coming up to me telling me what a great job that the city's done. And did you know my garbage was picked up the next day afterwards? And they came by my house twice, and just going over and above what they really needed to do. And we as residents do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You know, and let me get on my soapbox for just a moment here. This is not my comment section, but I'll use it anyway. You know, a lot of people go, oh, I'm glad the storm didn't last any longer than it did. It was only a couple of days. Well, actually, the fact of the matter is we started working on this thing about September 6th. We tracked these storms for months before they ever come over to affect our area. Right. We started our sandbag operations on September the 7th. Holy smokes, you know, there's like 3 cities in all of Pinellas County that offer sandbags, and Madeira Beach is one of them. We got inundated with sandbag requests. At the start of this event, Dave came to me and he goes, send everybody you got. I got 30,000 sandbags. We'll never use them all. The next day, he said, we've got to order more sandbags. The sandbags are gone. Right. And these guys did an outstanding job. Even our deputies were out there loading sandbags. Everybody had a part in this event. Everyone was touched by this event. So it was really phenomenal to see everybody working together to do a good job. And that's one reason why we're having this celebration coming up on this Friday at 6:30. It'll be downstairs. There's going to be some food. There's going to be some drinks. It's going to be a nice time for people to shake hands and talk to each other and become Madeira Beach again, I think. We're going to have a large screen video of all the events from the time this thing started with sandbags until, well, it won't be when Dave gets all his stuff picked up out of the road out there, because that's going to be a long, ongoing process. But this whole process, you know, it's a 2-week process for us, you know, from the time it starts till the time we get through the event, and then all the cleanup that Dave and his crew has to do out there. So it's a big event. So I invite everybody to come out for that on this Friday. So it's going to be a very nice thing, I think. So again, thank you.
I had a few things. First, I'd like to set up some interviews for us for the 2 new applicants we have. If we can set up a date and time and get that rolling, please. Also, City Attorney, I asked Andy Salzman for a list of all the lawsuits he's handling, what they are, what they mean, where we're at. Still have not heard nothing, and I know we've got that Shades meeting coming up on the 28th, and I'd like to get that ahead of time so I can kind of go over it and understand all of them and all that kind of stuff, please.
Yeah, I can talk to Andy about that, and if not, I think I have what I've previously delineated and I believe gave to the city manager, so I can get you something on that.
And the last thing I have is, you know, I think that at our next workshop that we have, we've been very bad at this, but we need to give the city, from the BOC here, some goals and objectives. We need to really sit down and say, this is what we're looking for, this is where we want to go, this is how we want to do it. I think it's very important that we give them some direction at this point. I'm hearing from them, I'm hearing from other people that we're not giving them any goals and objectives, and I think we really need to sit down and at our next workshop and kind of start working on that at the next workshop, please. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
And if you could get that list to everyone of what the lawsuits.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty bare bones list because I obviously I'm not going to disclose what the strategy is, but it'll be what the case is about,
exactly.
And what's been filed, basically whatever's on the public record.
Okay.
And why we can't know what the strategy is?
Not in the public. I'm not making that a part of the public record. That's going to be discussed at the shade meeting.
Okay.
Any other reports, correspondence from the city commission? City attorney,
Nothing from me?
acting city,
Yes.
that's right, I know you do.
I was going to suggest that the next regular BOC be on the 26th of September instead of the workshop, as we missed the regular BOC on the 12th of September. But Vice Mayor's just said that he wants a workshop on the next workshop. So I was just looking for approval whether we go forward with a workshop next week or we put everything forward for the 10th of October for a regular BOC.
I just didn't have the workshop. Have the workshop on the 26th and then
Do a regular
then
BOC.
the regular BOC.
Okay.
We'll just skip to one for September. It was kind of overshadowed.
Okay. All right.
So what are we doing now? We're having just a workshop, we're not having? Okay.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anything else, Andrew? No.
No.
All right, city manager.
Madam Mayor, I just have one last comment. The Vice Mayor was mentioning about setting up some goals and objectives. I think, after we went to the Florida League of Cities meeting, that this may be a good time to actually have an outside person come in here and facilitate that process. So with your permission and direction, I can look into that and see if we can establish some dates when we could actually have them come in here and establish some goals and directions for the department.
I think that'd be a great idea. Any other comments? All right, then, meeting is adjourned at 6:28.